Hi, I'm Barbara Seelig Brown. Welcome to Stress Free Cooking. What I'd like you to do is put on your bunny slippers, pour a glass of wine, and cook with me. Today's recipes are all about seafood. I've authored a seafood cookbook called the Diabetes Seafood Cookbook, and what I'm going to do is to demonstrate some of the recipes from that book. We're going to be doing a shrimp scampi, a scallop dish, and a tuna dish. Shrimp scampi is a great dish to have in your repertoire. It's really simple, it's very quick. You can keep frozen shrimp in your freezer. You generally must have garlic in your kitchen, and there's always olive oil, so you can make it on a moment's notice. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take some shrimp, and this was frozen shrimp, uncooked. I defrosted it in some cold water, and then what I did was just remove the shells. So really simple, really easy. Let's take some extra virgin olive oil, and we can use a really good olive oil for this. Pour some of that over the shrimp, and then what I'm gonna do is just crush some garlic cloves. I'll mix it together, and it all goes into a saute pan, and we have a great shrimp scampi in no time. Shrimp scampi is actually a kind of redundant name. Means shrimp. So I'm not quite sure where the name shrimp scampi came from, but shrimp is shrimp and scampi is shrimp in Italian. So let's take some garlic. So you take your chef's knife, you place it on top of the garlic clove, give it a little bit of a whack, and you pull the skin off. Okay, and if you like a lot of garlic, you put a lot of garlic in this dish. If you want just a hint of garlic, then use a little bit less. So this is a dish that you can really tailor to your own, to your likes and dislikes. So once you have the garlic peeled, you just take your chef's knife, and it's already partially crushed, and just continue to chop with your chef's knife. Okay, and that looks about right. And what I'm going to do is pop this into the bowl with the shrimp and the olive oil, and we'll mix it up a little bit. Once we have that blended evenly, then we can heat up a saute pan, and we'll put this into a hot saute pan. So all the work is done, and it's just a matter of cooking it now. This dish would also be great if you made it ahead and served it cold. So let's put this into the saute pan. And shrimp cooks very, very quickly. Once it's pink, it's done. Get all that extra virgin olive oil out of the bowl. And so now we just wait for it to cook a little bit and toss it around. All right, so once the pan starts to get hot, you'll hear that nice sizzle. And you want to pick up one of the shrimp and see if it's getting pink. And you don't want to overcook shrimp. So let's give this just a few seconds, then I'll check it again. You can also visit the diabetes website, shopdiabetes.org, for lots of great cookbooks so that you can stay healthy. Even if you prepare recipes from diabetes cookbooks, you're eating in a really healthy way. It's a great way for people to eat. It's low fat, it's low sugar, high fiber, so it's a really great way for people to eat, very healthy. And people who have diabetes are also at risk for heart disease, so it's also heart healthy. So the way you're going to test to see if this is done is you'll take one of the shrimp and you'll cut it in half, and we'll check to make sure that it's opaque as opposed to translucent in the middle. So let's break this in half and take a peek, and it's cooked all the way through. So we know our shrimp scampi is done, and now what we can do is remove it to a serving plate. So since I'm thinking of this as a great appetizer for this afternoon, what I'm going to do is take a couple of shrimp and put them on this really pretty plate that my daughter-in-law brought me back from Portugal, and we'll give it a taste. Perfect. Nice and garlicky, but nice and light. Let me clean up, and I'll be back to do the scallop dish. The next dish that I'd like to make, I call scallops with bell pepper confetti. I love to cook with color, and when I develop recipes, I like to develop recipes that have a lot of color in them because we eat with our eyes, so the more color in the dish, the more interesting and appealing it is. So we're going to start with some bell pepper. So I have a yellow bell pepper. I have a red bell pepper and a green bell pepper. So I'm just going to cut off the sides of my bell pepper. It'll make it much easier for me to cut the rest of this. Okay. So we really don't need the whole pepper, so I'm just going to shake the seeds out. And we have a small portion here for 2 people. So let's cut this into strips. And then we'll stack them up and we'll cut them again. So we just want a nice even dice, lots of color. And if you see an orange pepper or a purple pepper, that would also work well. So a strip of the green pepper, and dice this up. And then a slice of yellow pepper, and I used yellow pepper in another dish, so I had some left. This is a great way to use up a started pepper. Okay. So I think I want just a little bit more yellow in there to make it even. Okay, so I have the peppers ready, and we can mix those up so it looks, you'll see how pretty that looks. A couple of cloves of crushed garlic, or 1 clove of garlic if you don't want to overpower the scallops. So I'm going to go with 1 here. Okay, so we crushed it, we took the skin off. We're going to finely dice this, or mince. Make sure you have plenty of room on your cutting board to work. Okay. And then the remaining ingredients that we need are some cornmeal and a pinch of salt and pepper, and I've mixed my salt and pepper together to cut out 1 step. So I have 2 parts of fine sea salt and 1 part pepper. I'm going to put 2 pinches in here and mix it up well with my cornmeal. I'm going to dredge my scallops, and these are the large sea scallops, and an easy way to tell the difference between sea scallops and bay scallops is to remember that the bay is smaller than the sea. So the smaller scallops are the bay scallops, and the big scallops are the sea scallops. So we're going to dredge these, and before I do that, I'm going to put a little extra virgin olive oil in my pan. And then these can go right into the pan. And this one has a little foot on it. So you take a look at your scallops, and if you see that little tiny part that's dangling, that's called the foot, and you just want to take it off. Many stores will already have them removed for you. A non-stick pan also works well for this dish. And this one does have a foot, so we'll take the foot off. Now, when I went to the store to buy my scallops yesterday, I asked the seafood manager to give me the biggest scallops that he had, because when I looked in the seafood case, they were all different sizes. And for a dish like this, I want everything to be much more uniform, so I asked for the largest scallops that he had. Okay, while we're waiting for our scallops to brown, let's talk a little bit about scallops. When you're in the market, you'll see something called dry scallops. Dry scallops simply means that there's been nothing added to them on the boat, on the fishing boat. And if you can get dry scallops, it's a great alternative to the scallops that have had some other things added to them to preserve color or freshness, because the dry scallops are going to be a lot fresher. So let's take a peek. We're almost nice and brown. Just another couple of seconds, and we're going to be just the way we want them. So let's start turning these. We have that beautiful golden brown. Okay, so now that they're all turned, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add just a drop more extra virgin olive oil. And I'm using a really good extra virgin olive oil here because it is such an important part of the dish. And I'm going to add my garlic right into that olive oil so that it starts to cook really quickly. And once I smell my garlic, then I'm going to add the bell peppers. You don't want to overcook any fresh vegetables because the crunchier they are, the more nutritious they are. Pop these in here. and it's cooking very quickly. Bell peppers have a high water content, so they do cook down very quickly. They even start to lose their color a little bit, so you want to make sure that you don't overcook them. I know my scallops are done because they don't take long to cook at all. I can smell my garlic. The peppers look great. So let's add some wine to this dish. I'm adding white wine because white wine is a great complement to seafood. There are folks that enjoy red wine with salmon. Salmon is a lot richer and a lot fattier fish. Pinot Noir is a classic complement to salmon, but when I'm having scallops, I like to have a nice, crisp, dry white wine. So we just give this a minute and it'll be ready to sample. All right, so let me grab a serving plate. And let's put about 3 scallops on the plate with some of those great peppers. Get a nice variety of colors here. Okay. And let's give it a taste. So we have our scallops with cornmeal crust and our bell pepper melange. So scallops with bell pepper confetti, extra virgin olive oil, garlic, and white wine. It's a great light dish. It's a wonderful first course for a dinner party. It's very quick, very simple, and not a lot of mess. Let me clean up and we'll be right back with another great seafood dish. One of my other very favorite dishes to make is a sauteed tuna steak with a Caesar salad. And of course, this is my version of Caesar salad. So what I'm going to do is gather up all the ingredients. So I have a lemon, some anchovy paste or some anchovies, some Worcestershire sauce, Parmigiano Reggiano, some garlic cloves, my romaine lettuce, and then I'll need some extra virgin olive oil and we'll be set to put our salad together. The first thing I'm going to do is take a clove of garlic and take the skin off. And then if you use a wooden salad bowl, you can rub the garlic on the salad bowl, and that will give us a really nice garlicky flavor to our Caesar salad. And romaine lettuce is a lettuce that holds up very well to the dressing, so you can make this a few minutes before serving. So we have our garlic in our bowl. Now what I want to do is juice my lemon. So I have a lemon, it's at room temperature. I'm going to roll it on my kitchen counter to help to release some of the juice. Take my chef's knife and cut it in half. And then with the strainer in a bowl, I take a fork and I squeeze the lemon around the fork and the strainer will catch all of the seeds. And you never know whether a lemon's going to have a lot of seeds or just a few seeds. I don't think I've ever seen a seedless lemon, okay? And we don't want those in our salad. So let's juice our lemon. And this makes it very easy. Between the lemon being room temperature and the fork that you can squeeze the lemon around, you get a lot of juice. Okay, so that's the start of our dressing. And now what we're going to do is add to our lemon juice. So I have some anchovy paste, about a half a teaspoon of anchovy paste. I'm not making a huge Caesar salad. Then I have a drop or two of Worcestershire sauce. These are all classic ingredients for your Caesar salad. A pinch of salt, but not too much because the anchovies and the cheese could be a little bit salty. I'm gonna grab some extra virgin olive oil. And of course, here's a place where I wanna use one of my better olive oils. Now, classic Caesar salad has raw egg yolks in it. But I find if I use a really good olive oil and a lot of good high quality Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, I don't even need the egg yolk. Very good. Alrighty, so let's add some Parmesan cheese. So I have my grater and I have a nice fresh piece of Parmigiano Reggiano that I just bought yesterday. And I always grate my cheese when it's time to use it. You can purchase cheese grated already, but you really get maximum flavor if you grate it yourself. It also stays fresher longer if you leave it in the chunk. So we have some cheese in our dressing. So let's whisk this again. Okay. And even the cheese makes the dressing seem a little bit more creamy. Now what I'm going to do is make a little room here, and then I'm going to tear up my romaine. So we have some romaine that we've washed. We'll put it in a bowl. And tearing lettuce makes the lettuce stay crispier. You could tear this up and put it in the plastic bag in your refrigerator if you wanted to have it done ahead. And with greens, you want to keep in mind the darker the green, the more nutritious it is. Anything that has color in it has more nutrition than something that's white or a light color. So let's add our dressing. We'll toss the salad. So let's toss the salad. And then the last thing that we have to do for this dish is to cook our tuna. Okay, let me just taste. Make sure you taste as you go along. That way you'll know if you need to adjust seasonings. Perfect. Let me clean up. I'm going to grill my tuna. So I have a great piece of tuna here. This is sushi grade tuna. You can see by the color, it's such a beautiful pink, but I actually buy this frozen. I love that my grocery store carries this tuna frozen. They defrost it and have it in the seafood case, but I always ask for some frozen, and I take it home frozen. I put it in my freezer, and when I'm in the mood for tuna, then I just pull it out and I defrost it. I would much rather defrost it myself than have it sitting in the fish case and not know how long it had been sitting there. So very simply, all I'm gonna do is add some salt and pepper to this, and I'm using my salt and pepper blend, which is 2 parts salt and 1 part black pepper. And then what I'm gonna do is put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on here and rub the salt and pepper blend in. Turn this over, do the same thing on the other side, and I'll use my clean hand for the salt and pepper. Okay, rub that in, extra virgin olive oil. I've been heating my pan, so when this hits the pan will be nice and hot, and it will sear this tuna and lock in all that great flavor. And I only want my tuna to be medium rare, so we don't really have to cook this for very long. So let's get it in the pan. And one way you can test the pan is touch the side of the tuna or chicken breast or whatever you're cooking to the pan, and if you hear that sizzle, you know the pan is ready. Something else that would be fabulous on top of this Caesar salad would also be the shrimp scampi that we made earlier in the show. So lots of versatility. Stress-free cooking is all about great ingredients. It's all about recipes that are versatile, recipes that you can tailor to your own. And so have a little fun with it. Mix and match things, season things the way you want. So our tuna's done. Let's just get some nice thin slices out of this. Okay. And a lot of people like their tuna really rare, but if you're serving a crowd, it's a nice idea to have it a little bit more medium rare, because that is more appealing to most of the people that you're serving. Okay, so we'll put this right on top of our salad. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. So a little bit more grated cheese all over. We're going to clean up, and I'm going to make a quick pesto that you can use with so many dishes. It just comes in really handy. One more recipe that I'd like to prepare for you today is a pesto. Pesto simply means paste in Italian. Most of us think of pesto as something that starts with basil, but pesto really means paste. So you can make a pesto out of anything that you want. I've made pesto out of sun-dried tomatoes, olives, and of course the favorite is basil, and the classic is basil. So pesto originated in Genoa, Italy. In Genoa, they have a very special basil. It's a smaller leaf, and you make classic Genovese pesto with this smaller leaf basil. But it's summer here in the Northeast, and I have some beautiful basil that I've just picked out on my deck. Basil likes really dry conditions, so I find basil grows better in pots than in the ground, because if you put it in a pot, you can control the water a lot better. So the classic ingredients for pesto would be garlic. So I'm going to crush a clove of garlic and throw it into my food processor. Pesto would be made with a mortar and pestle if you were making it in the original way, but since we are modernizing things to be much more convenient and quick, we're going to use our food processor with the steel blade. First the garlic and then some Parmigiano Reggiano. So we'll put that in there in chunks because the food processor will grate it up for us. Okay, once I've broken up my cheese, I can start to add some nuts. I have some walnuts and some pistachio nuts. So we'll mix this together. And I'm going to take the lid off. I'm just going to take a peek and make sure that everything is finely chopped. And then I'm going to start to add my basil. So break it up just a little bit, but remember that the food processor is going to do most of the work for you. When you're using a food processor, start with the hardest ingredients or the biggest ingredients first and let it do your chopping for you. So basil in here, and this basil smells so fabulous. Okay, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to pulse this because I have more control if I pulse my food processor. So once everything is finely minced and it's about the size that I want it, so I'm going to give this one more for good measure. And then I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil. And this is a great place to use a really good extra virgin olive oil, something that you have in your kitchen that's a little special because the olive oil and all of the components in this pesto really are important and you will taste everything. So let's put the lid back on, turn the food processor on, and start to slowly stream in my olive oil. Take a peek. Let's wipe down the sides of the bowl. Okay. Now this is really, really thick, but I'd like it a little bit more of a drizzling consistency so that if I wanted to put this on grilled chicken or grilled tuna or grilled shrimp, I could easily drizzle it over it. So this looks just about right. And our pesto is ready. What's nice about this is I could easily freeze this. So we're making pesto in the Northeast in the summer. We could take this pesto and we could freeze it for January. Something else that I like to do with this is I like to just put my basil in my food processor with a little extra virgin olive oil, and I just make what I call basil paste so that I can then take that nice fresh basil paste out of my freezer in the winter. I could put it into soups, I could put it into salad dressing, and I'll have that really fresh summer taste of basil all year round. I'm Barbara Selig Brown. Thank you so much for joining me today on Stress Free Cooking. I'll see you again soon.